Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/entitled parents, where the parents are very entitled, and their kids will probably never want to speak to them again. If you enjoyed today's stories, remember to like the video. Leave a comment down below, just some emojis will do, just to help the video get around to people. And I will now get started on the stories. Let's go. My mother has been shaming me ever since I got married and is trying to marry out my minor daughters. I can't believe I ever had to make a post about my mother, but here we are. My mother and I have a difficult relationship. My mother was an old-school traditional wife. She was a homemaker, never did any work outside of the house, had far more kids than what I think is healthy. 7 girls and 6 boys. She is originally from Guatemala and came to the U.S. when she was 14. She married my father here, had her family here, and tried to make sure myself and my siblings had old-school values, something she really definitely failed at. Most of my siblings are as far away from my mother as humanly possible. 2 of them sadly passed away. I'm the only one that stayed near to take care of my parents, and since Dad died, I've been taking care of my mother's bills so she can live easy. She's always been a dramatic headache, especially when it came to marriage. She babied my husband, always took his side. I only wanted 1 kid, but my husband wanted as many as biologically possible. He had also told me he only wanted 1 when we talked about marriage. My mother helped him mess with my birth control, so I got pregnant with my youngest. I don't regret my younger daughter, but after she was born, I secretly had my tubes tied. My mother berated me for being faulty since I only had 2 children. That's not counting how she berated me for marrying old. I married at 22, she married at 16. My husband was 49 when he died in a car crash recently. We shared 2 daughters, 14 and 16. He was also having an affair with a girl since 2020. The girl was 24 when she died. Together they had twin boys early this year, who thankfully survived the crash. My daughters found out the affair first when their father took them to the hospital to meet the babies, and told the girls to keep it secret from me. They didn't, thankfully, and my husband became abusive towards them and myself. Not so thankfully. We were in the divorce process when he passed away. When my husband's affair came out, my mother blamed me. She said it was because I was a working woman that didn't please her husband, that I didn't give him enough children, that I wasn't pretty anymore. I'm not going to say I'm super attractive, but I think I look good for my age. I've kept my weight well enough for my husband, who needed a girl closer to his age for our daughters than to him. She also was on the group of people angry at me when I refused to adopt my husband's affair children. Her newest crazy is that she's trying to find husbands for my daughters, mainly focused on my eldest. The crazy plan started this week when my eldest came out to us. I had an idea, and I'm happy she felt comfortable enough in this massive mess we're still in to tell me and her sister. My daughter also decided to tell my mother about it. My mother just ended the call, then called me to scream about how confused and thick my daughter is. She's linked me conversion camps, psychologists that claim homosexuality is a sickness, whack jobs in my opinion, political articles, and so on. She even wanted to see about doing an exorcism. I told her to stop it, or she would be no contact with my in-laws. She stopped for literally 24 hours. Next thing I get is a Facebook message from a man in his mid-20s, asking if it was true that I was looking to marry out my 16-year-old daughter. I told him he was sick and blocked him. I got 6 more that night. Then my mother called saying she found husband prospects for my girls. My high school-aged girls. Angry has been an understatement. She even gave some of these men my daughter's cell phone numbers. We're all getting new phone numbers tomorrow, and I had the girls put their social medias into private. I don't know what part of the brain is broken on my mother-in-law. I had the girls block their grandmother in everything, and I'm stopping payments to anything my mother needs. I know I need to call the cops, I just never thought I would need to call the cops on my own mother. It's been only 2 weeks since I had to cut off my in-laws. I'm just exhausted. And please, do not think this is a normal Hispanic thing. It's not. My aunts are amazing women. Most of them also do homemakers. They are actually on my side of cutting off my mother and calling the cops. They even suggested for my daughters and I to move closer to them in another state. This is just my mother being absolutely insane. Small update. We went to the police today and took all the information I had. The officer we spoke to was incredible and immediately helped my lawyer with all the needed info for a temporary restraining order. We'll be filing it this week and hopefully get it within the month, after which we'll focus on a permanent restraining order. This is on my mother and any third parties on her behalf. The officer was also kind enough to offer to check in on us and our house at least once a day. School has also been notified of the situation, and one of my brothers is going to come live with my daughters and I until we decide if, where, or when we move. I just can't up and pack everything since I still have a job, and my girls are in the middle of the school year. For now, we're safe, and my girls have new phone numbers. Update. So some good news came out today regarding my mother. As of November 2024, she will be on her own monetarily. There's also an investigation on her regarding what she tried to do to my daughters, and a very old investigation reopened about a family matter I can't really speak on for the time being. Because of the charges on my mother, we might get an expedite on the restraining order, since there's minors involved, so fingers crossed. The restraining order will also keep some others from contacting me, mainly in-laws. In other news, after talking to my daughters, the three of us agree we don't really like our house anymore. It makes me a bit sad because it was my childhood home and a gift from my dad, but the reality is that there's too much baggage. I look at some places and it feels like the ghost of my husband's infidelity is everywhere. My girls don't like the fact we're so close to their grandparents, and my brother who's moved in has been very blunt about the fact that the house is not worth the stress. So as painful as it is, I'll be planning to do some repairs and either sell it out or rent it out. It's a big house, 9 bedrooms, so far more space than we'll ever need. I'll be happy with half of that so my girls can have their own room and I can have an office. My brother will also be living with us after we move. Not sure if it's a forever situation, but he's good support for my eldest daughter when it came to being gay. I have to admit that I know the bare facts. Well, my brother is gay and came out almost 30 years ago. He's been a fountain of advice about resources and given her advice, especially after my mother's stunt. My youngest has also started to do better. She's back to talking as usual and seems to be less scared about what's going on. She's been very excited about looking for a new house with me. She wants the perfect yard, so we'll see what we can find. My job offered a transfer out of state, also an international transfer, but that one's more likely to be a no for me, so a new beginning will do us very good. That's all of what I got. Not much of an actual update, just settling my mind on some decisions after reading advice here and talking through with people in my life. As of November, I'm officially refusing to acknowledge my mother. As far as I know, my parents were gone after my father died. Remember to like the video and leave a comment or I'm going to have to steal your kneecaps. Now on to the next story. Entitled mom hits my car, doesn't exchange information and then runs away. So I was driving last week to go pick up my younger sister from school. I recently got a car as a graduation gift and I pride myself on taking good care of it. So back to the story. I was at an intersection and my light just turned green. I move out, and out of nowhere, a car to my right completely ignores the red light and strikes my passenger side. I get out of the car a little bit in shock, and the woman, who I'd say is about in her early to mid-30s, starts screaming at me. She then asks loudly, "Why did you go through the red light?" I respond a bit nervously that because she looks pissed, and then tell her I had a green light, and she says, "No way, I was texting." And then just as I put down my phone, the light was green. I tried to explain how I had the green light and then proceeded to do what she just said. Her two kids are yelling at me, saying that their mom was always right. One of them, a son who I think was probably 12 or 13, got out of the car. He said I was at fault and that his mom did nothing wrong. I'm going to assume he was also on his phone, since I had a green. She had a red. Her daughter also shouted that I was in the wrong. I asked for the insurance information because I was trying to calm down the situation as fast as possible. She then went back to her car, as did her son, and they just sped off. I realized that she also had no plates, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I called the cops and a tow truck, and people who stayed behind to check on me validated my story to the cops. My parents are also going to kill me since they paid a lot of money for that car. I have a job too, but it doesn't pay a ton hourly. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford some of the repairs. But it thankfully wasn't totaled. I don't want to be constantly borrowing one of my parents' cars. But I'm really pissed that she had the audacity to text while driving, proceed to attempt to gaslight me, and then run off without even exchanging insurance information. Although it's probably unlikely she had any, seeing as she didn't have any plates. And there's an update to this story. Update, entitled Mom Hit My Car and Ran Off. So after my last story, after my car was towed, I went straight to the police station. I gave her and the car's description. Thankfully, there were cameras, which frankly I hadn't seen before, since they were well hidden. They have the footage, and they know what to look for. They have sent a police car to that school, and they quickly identified her car. Entitled Mom has been arrested for reckless endangerment, driving with an expired license, driving without insurance, and a hit and run. Apparently, this is the third time the woman has done this, and her driver's license expired 3 years ago. Talk about being a criminal. I'm taking her to court for destroying my car and then trying to blame me. I'll post an update once the court case is over. There are no more updates as of right now. On to the next story. My entitled mom attacks me and demands I pay for my abuser's bail. It's been about a month since I last dealt with her, and I'm once again facing my mom's delusions. The short background is my mother prefers my sexual abuser stepbrother, Chris. He abused me since I was a child. Normal abuse first, that evolved into sexual abuse as it became a preteen and then a teen. After the worst happened, my paternal half-brother Sam took me in when I was 16 and raised me. It's also come to light that my mother was stealing from a trust my father had set from me, with fake receipts, and she had also been claiming me in her taxes. Which is ridiculous since I do my own taxes as an independent. All in all, my mother is now being investigated for tax fraud. Chris is currently in jail for kidnapping his cousin's baby, a 2-year-old girl. Now, to the newest stupidity that came from my mother. She is now harassing me to pay Chris's bail. To begin with, I can't believe they would let him post bail at all after kidnapping a baby. The bail is set at $25,000. That seems like a lot, but in all honesty, I find it absolutely disturbing that's all they're charging. I've been trying to get a restraining order on both Chris and my mother. Chris, that one, is more likely coming. My mother, despite all her harassment, no one, neither cops or lawyer, believe it to be a danger to me. So I still have to deal with my mother trying to talk to me at the parking lot of the clinic I work in. I'm a nurse practitioner at home constantly banging on the door. Her sisters, who I met as an adult and didn't know they even existed to begin with, have also joined in on this. Sam and his wife say that it's okay and not to worry, but I know this is taking a toll on them. I'm also worried that their kids, that they have 2 boys being exposed to all this crazy. So despite Sam's insistence that everything is okay, I'd move temporarily to a hotel until I could find a cheap apartment to rent. Some people suggested becoming a traveling nurse, and while I'm considering it, I don't want to be far from Sam and his family, as they are my support system. The issue is, my mother somehow tracked me down to the first hotel I was in, and found out my room number. She banged on the door while I was getting ready for work. When I opened the door to tell her to go away, she slapped me, and began to hit and scratch at me, telling me it was my fault that her sweet boy was taken by the cops, and that I should be the one paying his bail. My mom isn't that strong, but I was stunned by the sudden attack. By sheer luck, the housekeeper was doing the rounds when this happened, and they got security to restrain my mother. Security called the cops. They took my mom away, but apparently let her go with just a warning. When I recovered enough, I ended my stay and booked into another hotel. I did go to work, mostly so I could get my injuries looked after. My boss heard this as she was helping me get through a panic attack and cleaning some scratches I had on my neck. After giving her the full details, she told me she had a rental for extra income. At the moment, she had it rented to some college students, but when the semester ends, she's going to close it as a student rental and offered it to me. It's a small house with a yard that permits pets, so I can bring my cat with me. She also wants me to start carpooling with one of my co-workers, a male nurse that looks intimidating but is the sweetest teddy bear you can imagine. I went to the cops to report my mother, and again, despite the pictures of my injuries, this was all brushed off as a domestic affair since my mother is elderly, and they don't think she's a real danger. I even got lectured about maybe needing family therapy. My lawyer just told me to take a deep breath and go to the paper trail. He told me that at the end of all this, we'll have the last laugh, so here's hoping. As to how my mother found my room number, the girl at the front desk gave it to her when my mom made a scene about how I was suicidal and she was worried I would off myself after my fiancé was taken by the cops on fake charges. Yeah, I think it's bullshit and my lawyer's already planning to speak to the hotel's management for that. My dear mother has also gone back to social media to claim I attacked her when she went to check in on me after Sam kicked me out. Again, it's turned into a fight between my dad's family and her family. I posted pictures of my injuries and wrote my account of what happened. I'm just so tired at the moment. This is affecting my work, and while my boss is amazing and supportive, I can't imagine this is good for me. I miss Sam and his family. I miss my own bed, I miss my peace, and I never wanted to deal with my mother or Chris after I left their roof. Small update for people that call out for me to check my car for air tags. You called it. There was an air tag hidden in the undercarriage. No idea how that was put in. It was covered in a ton of tape, making it even harder to see since it matched color. Someone in the comments says, keep doing the paper trail and make sure your attorney sees the post where she accused you of attacking her. That's a case for defamation right there and might get you something. And that's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed today's stories, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Just an emoji is alright. I just want the video to be seen by more people. And I will see you all next time. Hasta la pasta.